Hey there, it's Lance.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are
Hard to master,
such as...
Today we have Circadians First Light second edition, which we're going to touch on. But we also have this beautiful gem called Circadians Chaos Order that I really am excited to talk to you about today. Let's start with Circadians First Light. If you don't know, it's a game that came out around 2019. It is a dice placement game by Garphill Games, made by Sam McDonald. And in this game, you're placing dice out. You're going to roll them, place them on your board. This will allow you to maybe move a harvester, which will get you more resources, place your dice, and then you're going to put them out in these different communal areas. Trying to get benefits, whether that's trading at a market, dropping things off at a depository that you've an item or now a contract. So different things like that. And as you go along, you're going to remove the dice from your supply, hopefully gaining more from a bonus, but removing them to try and get points. And when you get points, sometimes you're going to get those bonuses like a new die, or you're going to get a new tile for your board. With this new edition, what they've done is it's the same illustrator. So it's Shim's brother Sam has illustrated this, and it's the same as before, but they've tweaked things. So the artwork actually does look improved a little bit because they wanted to match it with the new game. And that's why you'll also see a bigger box here. So the overall gameplay is going to be very similar, pretty much the same game. They have done a couple tweaks. So like I said, the artwork, as you can see, I mean, this is very similar to what you had with your shield before. Inside, you'll see it pops a little bit more with some of the different black bolding things. They've reworded some different terms to make it a little bit easier to understand. Your harvesting board, as you can see, much prettier, brighter colors that pop instead of that kind of greenish, light greenish area. It's much brighter. But the big artwork change here is going to be this player board. Looks fantastic. And so that has also been upgraded. And then on the back of each one of those, if you've played the solo version, which I've tried out since, it's a lot of fun. You're trying to get so many points and keep them, and the solo bot is going to remove your die or put in places to block you so you can't do actions, which can be very difficult at times. But in addition to an artwork change and updating of terms and things like that, they've also included an insert, which will have some removable storage tokens.
That's really nice.
Which at times are a little tight to get your fingers in, but it is nice that you have this. You don't have to go buy some, and it keeps it from being all on the board. In addition to this, with this edition, they have included the mini expansion from the original Kickstarter called the Alliances expansion. And they do have plans to come out with a new bigger expansion called the Specialist expansion, which I don't have an exact date, but they did talk about it over live stream a couple weeks ago. And with that, they're actually going to, from what I've heard, create an upgrade pack. So if you do have the original, don't feel like you're missing out too much. There is supposed to be a way for you to just upgrade your copy, which I know can be nice because, like I said, I kickstarted the original, and now this one just looks a little bit better and is a little bit more enjoyable because the artwork has been updated and matches this. Another thing that they have included is a way that you can draft your leaders. So there's going to be more leaders, not only from that Alliances pack, but now there's 14 total. And so they have a Dyad Alliance way that you can draft these leaders. So basically, based on turn order, you would each select, because you'll have all 14 on the laid out in front of you. And in turn order, you're going to draw one. Then after everybody has selected one, everybody in that same turn order is going to remove one from the selection pile. You're going to return that back to the box. Then in a snaking order, so the reverse turn order, now they're going to select a second leader, which you would get your second one. Any that are left are going to be discarded. I can tell you that that is a really fun way to play. I have tested it out, and drafting 2 different leaders out of 14 can change the way that you play quite a bit, because you may be good with one leader, now you've got another one, and pairing them off of each other can be very beneficial at times. And I like that you're removing one as well, which changes things up, because someone may get one thinking they're going to get that other one, and then next thing you know, that one's been removed. So now and if you were the first to pick, now you're last to pick, but you're last to pick what's still out there can be tough. The only other thing I really can think of that's different from the artwork, the new leaders, the way that you can draft leaders, and things like that, is they do have another mode or variant that you can do, which probably has been around for a while on BGG or in a forum, is that instead of having to place send your die out in order, you can actually send them out in any order you want instead of having to go left or right. So if you do not have Circadians First Light, if you like dice worker placement, this is a really fun dice worker placement set in a space universe, which everybody loves. The Michos work with the different, West Kingdom and North Sea and soon to be South Tigris, but don't sleep on Circadians. Circadians is a great series, and the artwork is different, but it's just as enjoyable, and they both have their place in the Garphill lineup.
For sure.
And anybody that says they doesn't know what they're talking about, because they are both great series. And in a minute, we're going to talk to you about this one as well. Man, I just can't say enough, and I'm going to get into that in just a second. But if you have Circadians First Light, don't feel like you need to go out and jump and buy this right away. You may wait and see what the Kickstarter holds for the expansion and see what the upgrade costs and everything would be, because that may save you a little bit. And more will be released as time comes. So I would say, just keep your ear to the ground and see if that's something you want to do to upgrade. But I will tell you, if you're an aesthetics person and you like the way things look, this is definitely going to be, a plus for you. It's just,
for sure.
Do you go and sell your copy and get this one now? Do you keep the OG one? I mean, what do you want to do? That's up to you. We're just giving you a little bit of information on what this is going to bring to your table in a second edition. So, any other you've played this too. Any other last thoughts?
I do like dice placement. I think it's a really cool mechanic. I think this one does it well, and it's a fun game. Yeah, for sure.
And so let us know in the comments if you do want us to give you more of a review of it, of an overall feel of it. We'd be more than happy to take a look at that. But just let us know in the comments if this is something you're thinking about and you would like to know more about the game, and we can break it down a little bit more for you. But until you let us know that in the comments, we're going to switch over now to Circadians Chaos Order, which is also created by Sam S.J. McDonald, but also by a new friend of mine, Zachary Smith. And I say that because we had been sent this to review. First time I played it, I posted pictures of it on Instagram like I usually do. And when I did that, I actually got a message from Zach, and he was telling me, hey, you made a slight mistake. You can't build on that foundation space where the relic is until you have that relic removed. And since then, him and I have talked quite a bit about the game.
It's really cool.
Because this is one of my sleepers of 2022, I think. A lot of people, they were so excited for the Wayfarers of the South Tigris, or maybe the Viscount expansions or the Architect expansions coming out. And I remember hearing about this one, but I was like, man, I don't know too much about it. Man, this is making my top 10 of 2022. I'm telling you now, there's only 3 games that I know have ensured a slot on that list. I've played several very good games. Again, these are my favorite games that came out in 2022, and this is going to be on it. You don't understand how excited I am about this game. I told everybody at Gen Con, if you saw me, I said, hey, I heard they have Circadians Order over there. If you haven't heard about it, because I'd already played it a couple times, go check it out. I mean, if you like games that are asymmetric at all, if you like games that are area control, man, there's a lot to talk about that's good, and we're about to break into it. Any other introductions before we get into this awesome game?
I will say Chaos Order definitely has a plethora of different mechanics. It is very much about area control, but it is not just area control. And I've said this in several videos before, area control is not my jam. It is not a mechanic that I terribly enjoy, and it's not one that I'm very strong at. But this game does have other mechanics going with it, especially this side of the board over here, which we're going to talk about that in a bit.
Pretty big depth. Yeah.
But this is my favorite part of the board. What's going on over here with the bidding, and it's kind of action selection, sort of, because you can choose whether to do it or not. Yeah. And resource management that goes along with it. I love this part of the game. So yeah, that's really cool.
So yeah, in Chaos Order, you're going to have a certain faction, and that faction is going to have a very different board. So I don't know if I necessarily compare it to this, but I have had a lot of people when I talk to them about, I've seen their posts on Instagram or something, I talk to them about this game. Anytime I see anybody talking about it, I talk about it. And they compare it to Scythe. And I think with the board, when they compare it to Scythe, they compare that you have buildings, but you may have a different number of buildings that are on different spots.
Okay.
And so as you see here, these boards are going to look quite different. So you look right here, and this Circadians board actually has this plane right here. And this is where you can put your warriors, and it's kind of like a drop ship because they don't have a home base. Every other faction has a home base that's on the board. It's a tile on the board. Theirs is their drop ship, which sits on two different, on the border of two hexes, and so they can drop people onto the board from that. This red faction here, they do not have that. And if you look at the bottom, they may have a different ability here, but even if we pull out the AI here and look at them, you'll notice that this red faction, they have 1, 2, 3 different spots to get their people on the board. Not the robots. The AI, they send them straight out. They're deploying. And so your board's going to look pretty different. Even these little foundation tiles that you're going to remove and put out there are placed with locks in a different place. So they're very different. They do have a little background story on the back. Again, the artwork by
which I think
Sam
the robots
Phillips
is hilarious. Have you seen what the robots is?
Yeah, it's all ones and zeros.
1 0 1 1
Their
0.
sport, their fame tracker on the board is ones and zeros, because that's another thing. It's not just that your board is different. It's that your ability is different. For each faction, you have a sheet here that you want to let everybody know about, because here's going to tell you what's in your components, which is different for every box. So whenever you go and unbox it and everything, you might want to grab this, because this will tell you exactly what pieces go in here. Almost everything goes in these boxes. The majority of your components are going to go in here, even the cards for that faction, which is real. I mean, they all fit, and they need to, because I can just get this out. Usually I have games set up before my friends get there to speed up the game, except for placing, because we do that. You do that as part of your setup action. So everything else though can be on your board and be set up, and we just put it all out from this. We put it all back in this. But these boards are going to tell you what's in it. They tell you kind of how to set it up, tips for you, tips against you, which is really important for the other people at the table to make sure that they kind of know that. And once you play a time or two, you're going to start to realize how each faction does. And we'll give you a quick kind of overview of what each one's kind of trying to do. But then on the back, you have a little bit more clarification on how different things work, their different abilities, or their different leaders. So these are really good. I like that they made these for each faction. And then so even say I'm not Zcharo, kind of like Sabaros, but not Zcharo, I can take this, and I'm probably saying it, with my accent pretty wrong. Sorry, Zach and everybody. But with this board, with this reference sheet, say someone's trying to go against me, they can always, if they have a question about my ability, I can just hand it to them, they can read it.
Yeah.
They are going to take, this is not a small game. This is a big game board. You're going to have a lot of pieces, especially if you go 5-player. I've played 3-player, 4-player, and 5-player, and we'll tell you what kind of my favorite is. I haven't played 2-player. I think 2-player would feel like a skirmish kind of game because it's 1v1, and we'll talk about why it might, the area control aspect in a second. But I've played all but that, and I feel like I have a good idea of what that game might kind of feel like and play as. It'd be a tighter board, not as widespread as you'll see when you get to bigger player counts. But you have these boards. In addition to that, your fame tracker is different. The Leyrien here, they go to 14 fame, and if they get to 14 fame, that's their alternative win condition. They win immediately. The Oxataya, they got to get to 9.
Yeah, they just got to get
if
to
9.
If
they get to 9, that's immediate. The Circadians, when I showed you with the dropship, 4. So you can see everyone's different, and I mean, the AI is a little, you have to read it, but it's 18. It's a bunch of 1s and 0s. I've, double checked that. But they're all different too. And so there's so much difference in each one. Yes, you're playing the same game, but they all feel different. I've played 3 or 4 different factions, and I can tell you they feel very different, and it is so good. And I've just told you about the asymmetry. I haven't even told you about the best part of the game that my friends and I strongly feel is probably our favorite part of the game, other than just the different feel of everybody. And Lance kind of alluded to it a minute ago, and it's up here in this pricing action, and right here I like the way that they laid out the different stages of the game and the round. And so up here you'll have some tiles that start here at the beginning setup, which have a gray background, and they will be here until you use one tile that will let you to remove those. Let me see if I can find. Let's jump this. I'll just put it back. As you can see, I have everything in there. I pull out, so I wouldn't use the 2s unless I'm playing a 2-player game. But these with the orange background will be in front of you, and you can use these tiles here to price actions. These other 2 will be here until you pick them up, which you can only do with one tile, which is this one here, as denoted by the symbol here. When you do that, you'll also gain 1 tactics card, which we'll talk about when we get to the battle area. I feel like that's a good time to talk about it. But these tiles will have different amounts on them, and you'll see anything in your player color is what people will have to pay you. Anything in orange, they have to pay the bank. So this tile, for instance, if I put this down to do the action that I price, they're going to have to pay 5 energy, which is denoted by the energy tokens. If they cannot pay that, they cannot do the action. They have to pay both. So me too, 3 to the bank. However, I don't have to pay the bank or myself. I get to do that action for free. So it's very important to use these strategically and very well. You may place them here because you want this extra gem, because when you place on a space that has a pre-printed bonus, you will get that. You'll also have different cubes that will be on the trackers, and they will let you move up. So for instance, the Discover, if I pick the Discover action to do, and early in the game I may want to put something that's not too expensive, because nobody has that much energy. I believe you start with, I think, 6. So if I put that there, people know it's going to cost them 3, but hey, if they bump up this one, they're going to gain extra energy or a gem. So the top up here of every row is your main action. Then here in the middle, you have basically a bonus that you would receive if the bonus is pre-printed on there. So for instance, this would give us energy, this would give us a gem, this lets you place a foundation tile, which will let you build later. You have to have a foundation to build, unless you have other abilities which could come up later to negate that. This is gain a tactics card. This is going to let you place a harvesting cog out on one of your spaces, which would help you during the harvest action. This lets you flip it over, a gem, and this lets you have 2 recruit points, which are used to move the people across your board or put them onto the board from your deployment zone. So right here we have Discover. With Discover, you're basically researching. So when you take this action, you actually get to choose any one of these tracks, and you're going to move that cube up.
So you got some track progression going on here.
Yeah, so when you do that in one faction, the Zcharo, they're all about research. So you gain fame by researching. You also gain fame by removing buildings, which is called raising, but that's more in the battle thing. But just by gaining a research, they're going to gain fame. They need to get 20 fame and not lose a round before the check relics phase, because at the end of that phase, if they have 20 fame, they win. Every other faction, it's an immediate win if they reach their conditions of fame. So this is going to move up. If it's ever here and you see this token, this is a gem lock section. So here on your board, your player board, different things are going to require you to spend an extra gem to move that up past that space. That's what Discover does. You also have this auxiliary action that you can do. You can pay wherever your cube is, you can pay the bottom resource to gain it. So I could spend 2 gems if I wanted to research another row or the same row again. That would help it further to make my actions stronger or give me additional benefits later. So that's the Discover action. Again, placing your pricing token is very important, because you may place it knowing that you want to do this action for free. You may place it knowing, if I place it Discover, there's going to be probably at least 1 or 2 people that want to do that. They're going to give me income of energy so that I can spend it on later actions. Yep. Whereas if I place my token down here later, then no one's giving me energy. If I don't have the energy stockpiled up, I'm not going to be able to do that action unless I can use it here, gain it.
Right.
But I have to find my own way to gain energy before then, because nobody's paying me any energy.
So there's layer upon layer of strategy when it comes to that.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not only trying to figure out, well, what is the action that you think most people are going to be doing? What is the action that you really need to do, so you want to make it free for yourself? But you're also figuring out, how are you going to maximize the energy that you're receiving from the other players to help you to do other actions later on, or on the next turn, or so on and so forth? Because energy is pretty tight in this game. It's not free-flowing all the time. And so you really want to play that game
especially in the beginning.
well.
In the beginning, it's much harder to get energy. Later, as you can see, as you move up and you get more harvesting energy and stuff, it's going to increase and make it a little bit easier. But in the beginning, it's really tough. And you can go heavy and make someone pay you 6 to do this action. Nobody's going to pay it, though.
Yeah.
So you just not only got to do that for free, and at times you will price it high because you want to block people. And
here's the other thing too: these tokens, you don't get them back. I mean, you do get them back if you play your one-time use token, but you may spend that heavy spending token and nobody goes to it, and it's gone until you use your one-time ability to get it back, and you only can use it one more time then after that. So you really have to be wise about.
You have to time it well. Yeah. This is a very strategic part. So if you're someone that's very good at reading what people may want to do, reading the board, knowing that Zcharo has a choice to pay 1 extra energy to not give you any energy, and if you're just hoping that that one person does your action because nobody else can afford it, it's not going to work out for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot to think about when pricing, and like I said, this is everybody so far that I've played with their favorite part of the game.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's very strategic on, do you pay, do you not? Let's go to the next one. So we do these in order too. So and whoever places this token here is the first one to act. After that, it's going to go around in order. And we'll talk about one exception, and that's the move action. But everybody else, if you place this, you are the first to do it. Then other people can pay you to do it if they want. If we did build, not only will we gain that gem, now I have building points. Your foundations, each foundation costs 1 building point. Each building, doesn't matter which building type, is going to cost 1 building point, but you have to have a foundation to build on, unless you have an ability, I think like the Leyrien do later on, that can negate them having to have a foundation. So you can see you start with 1, so I could build a foundation if I was right here, and then I could pay 4 energy to build on top of that using a building point if I wanted to. Later you can move it up. Now I have 2 building points, and I could pay 4 energy to build another building. You will want to get buildings out, because buildings will allow you not only defense, if you have outposts, they give you a defense. They let you move from your home base to the outpost. But, you know, your foundries, they're going to be the ones that let you harvest.
Yeah.
Stronghold, they're going to give you different things. A lot of times it may be a different faction ability thing that lets you do. Like they let you place morale tokens, the AI. They're going to put traps out. So there's different things that your strongholds are going to do. In addition to, they're a little bit more faction based though. But you want to get buildings out because they're going to help you control and help you defend those zones. One thing is you don't want people to raise your buildings, removing your buildings. But as long as you have that building there on top of a foundation, guess what? You can enter a battle. So you don't have to have warriors there. You have a building there. If you have tactics cards and a building, and maybe a gem to roll dice, which we'll talk about in combat, you could still protect that hex. So there's a chance, depending on what they throw at you. So building is important at times. Harvesting can be important depending on what you're harvesting and when you need it and how far you're up this trap. Because when I harvest, I'm going to gain 4 energy. So harvest is a way that you can spend your energy and get a good chunk of it back. So a lot of times you may net 1 or 2, so it's worth it to just harvest because you're going to get something back.
And it's a good spot to put your token down because you know most people are going to be going and taking that action. So if you're short on energy, it's good to put your token down here to price that and set the market for it so that people are giving you some energy.
Don't listen to me.
No, it's a good move.
Strategy probably is not good. I mean, you could go to harvest. I'm not a big harvester. It's an area control game. You can probably see where I'm going to lead, where I'm going to put my token most of the time in a minute. But as we go, you're going to gain 4 energy. Then you get to activate one of these cogs. And as long as you have a home base, it's going to have one pre-printed. If you're up here where you can do 2 of them, well, I can do 2 of them, but I can't do the same one twice. So I would need to have a foundry and then my home base. Now I can produce on 2 hexes, things like that. So as you go up, you can see, well, I'm going to get more hexes. Well, if I get to the top, I can flip over one. Now that hex, this one now says +3 and +3 energy and a tactics card. Well, that's better than +1 energy and a tactics card. So getting up here will let you flip that one of those cogs over, which will allow your harvest to be higher. Now we come to recruit. Recruit's going to give you energy by placing your tile there. And again, these are all done. Whoever places a token first gets to do it. This is going to give you 2 recruit points, which like we said on the board, will allow you to move people over. I don't have the Circadians board over here. So, but if I did, well, I can move them over. Say I had the AI bots here. They're going to start with 13 here in the supply. And this says that I can just send them to my home base. It's one recruitment point to send them from my board to the base. Whereas usually it's going to cost you 1 to move them from the injured area to the deployable area and then to deploy. You can fast track your warriors, but that usually costs you energy to do that. And so it's a little bit more difficult to do. The AI would not need to fast track because they just deploy them automatically. But I have 2 recruitment points here. If I moved it up, I could have 4 or 5, 7, up to 9. In addition to that, on the auxiliary here, you would be able to pay energy to place your leader out on the board. So your leader cards are not only going to help you battle, but they'll also have an ongoing ability, and you have a standee for each one. And so the leader cards and the standees here, you'll see that their ability has to do with movement, has to do with combat, has to do with recruiting. And this is your deployment cost. So this one will cost you a gem. These 2 would not cost you anything to place them on the board. You will start with 1 on the board, and if you do place 1 on the board that does have a gem requirement, you would have to pay it. But later, when we get down here to move, You will have the ability as an auxiliary to flip this over by spending the gem requirement if it has one. And this would upgrade that character ability. In addition, it will usually upgrade their stats for fighting in combat. So that's what your leader cards will look like. So if you pay the energy cost here, so for instance, this one, 4 energy, you could place one of those leaders at your home base, and now it's on the board, which will help you in combat. The last action you can do on the set pricing actions is move. And occasionally you'll see people put their token here on the first space and move first to get a card. But that's not how I play. The majority of the time that I'll price an action will be to move, because especially if I have a faction that is very heavily combat oriented, like Oxataya or Jrayek. Those are very heavily combat kind of factions. AI would be a combat faction. I want to move last so that I can incorporate opportunities. There is a downside to it, and I'll kind of go over that in a second. But if you move first, you do get a tactics card. You're going to move in order. But if you pick to choose to move last, then whoever has the ray gun token, which is just a little first player token, they're actually going to be first unless you were the first player. Then it would go clockwise until it gets around to you, and you will be the last one to move, which gives you all the opportunities to set up before battle, which is going to be the next thing that happens. So as you can see right here, if I started here, I would have 2 move, 3 move, we have a gem lock, 4 move. Well, you definitely want to, if you want to move a lot, especially as an AI and get around to several battles, you need to be able to move. And when you move, you're going to move characters from one hex to another, and you can move as many characters from that hex that you want to. But I can move all these guys from one, and say my leader was there too. I can move all my characters to another hex that's adjacent. And whenever I do that, I mean, kinda. But whenever I do that, that's fine. Problem is you may have another faction in there, and if you do, some of your warriors are going to get pinned. So say they had 2 warriors in there. Well, 2 of my guys are stuck now, and I can't move all of them because they're stuck in there pinned for that battle. So that is the one downside to moving last, is people can try to pin you so that you're going to have to move more people in there before you do that. But usually moving last is great because you can set up the board however you want. Yeah. And you could even end the game that way if you survive 2 battles. I won't say how that happened, but if you survive 2 battles and you just walk into a couple regions, well, you can win the game that easily. So we haven't said how you win. In this game, you can win by either controlling all the spaces that have these relics on the board, and they'll number 1 to 6 for each round because the game is going to be 6 rounds max. So say, probably not going to happen in your first couple rounds because that would mean you would have to control 6 contested areas. Probably not going to happen. Yeah. Usually around 3, 4, 5, 6, it starts to get close, and you've got to be careful not to leave spaces open because twice now, I've seen it 4th round, it ends because 4, 5, and 6 are controlled. So if somebody were to control, say, 1, 2, and 3 are already done, and we had 4, 5, and 6, and all 4, 5, and 6 are controlled by the same player, that's going to be the end of the game. And so you want to watch that. That's the main way everybody can win. And then like we said, every faction has a different win condition, and we'll touch a little bit more on that after we finish the action phases and the round phases. Just wanted to say that because you're probably wondering, well, how do you win this game? You can win by controlling all the relics left on the board, 1 per round, or you can win by your alternate win condition, which we'll talk about. But that's movement. On the bottom, like we said, the auxiliary action for that is I can upgrade that leader, flipping it to the gold side, paying a gem if it was required. Now that leads us to combat. And in combat, anytime that you have 2 factions or more sharing a hex, there's going to be battle. And first player is going to choose the battle that they're in, and they're going to battle there until that battle's over, at the end of that battle, one faction should be removed because they've either retreated, which would allow them to move their warriors to an adjacent space, or basically redeploying them to an adjacent space that they have presence, or they can send them back to their base, which would be their leader. So it's good to retreat at times because your leader's not removed from the board, because as you upgrade them, they become very expensive to get back on the board, and it can be very tough to deploy your leaders because of that gem cost, and it can get really expensive sometimes. So retreating is nice sometimes because your warriors don't get sent back to home base, your leader doesn't get removed from the board, your warriors are real close to keep you have presence on the board, and your leader's still on the board at your home base. But if you lose a battle because you did not retreat, like I said, your warriors all go to their home base, unless they were attacked. If they're attacked and wounded, then they will come back to your player board. But your leader is going to be removed from the board, and then you got to pay extra costs to get him back on the board. So
pretty devastating.
And you have, each player is going to have a combat wheel when they're combating against one of the other presences faction in that hex, and you are ensured to have a 1-to-1. And you'll notice there's a shield icon here, there's a strength icon here, there's an attack icon here, and these will line up with the different spots. And so you'll see that lines up with that. This is the ability I'm trying to do. So if I were to do this, I would need to have a gem. I'm going to pay a gem. That would allow me to roll one of the dice. When I do that, it's going to either give me strength or shields. So you're wondering, strength, attack, shields, what does that matter? Well, before you do anything, the first thing you do in a battle phase after playing a card, and you can play it face down. When you play it face down, you don't have to spend it. It stays in your hand. You still get the 1-to-1 automatic, but you won't get this. So these are usually going to upgrade the amount that you would spend, so you don't get the 1-to-1 anymore. You're replacing it with this. Could have a combat ability here. You would negate the bottom ability if you spent it during combat. This means that you would spend it during this phase of the round. That's why it's very important to pay attention to the cards and the iconography on the side of the board, because they relate to that action. So I could spend it as a secondary effect instead of a combat effect if I wanted to use the card, the tactics card, for upgrading an action that I priced, or that I'm just taking because somebody else priced it and I want to do it. So I can play one card, getting a battle ability, or upgrading my stats. The strength is what you want to know who wins the battle, because who wins the battle is going to stay there. They're going to gain the relic if the relic's there. So you want to have the most strength. Some factions may not. Some factions don't care. But if you want to win battles, you do want to have the most strength. That's ultimately what's going to win the battles. Then you'll look at attacks. For any attacks that were on your board with your wheel, that's going to cause people to get injured. And you can only max 4 injured warriors. You can't injure more than 4. So you may have 7 attacks, and they have 2 shields. Well, that'd be 5 wounds, so 5 people would be sent back, but you can't. You can only send 4. A max of 4 no matter what. That's why you have the less than or equal to 4. Then we would look at where's everybody going to go. So your warriors would go to home base, like I said. Your leader would be removed, and any buildings will be removed too. Even if you retreat, your buildings will be removed. So if you got buildings, just hopefully they don't get
Gotta
raised.
protect them.
Right here on the side, you'll see the probability of each die. You can see that there's a 1 strength, 1 shield, 2 strength, 2 strength, 3 strength, 3 strength, and 4 strength. So that's your probability of what you can roll when you roll a dice taking this action. This one here allows you to do attack twice, so you can maximize your attack. Problem is, you can only pick this option if you have 4 warriors and no leader. So you could have 4 more warriors and no leader. Then you could just attack and attack and attack and see. This gives you no bonus, but it will always give you, you can always do it to do at least 1 and 1, even if you didn't have a card. So you don't have to play a tactics card, like I said, you do have this. Problem is if you retreat and you didn't play a tactics card, you're going to have automatically -2 shields, which could hurt you if your opponent attacks you, which can be done with a leader card or by playing a card here to do the actions. But that's pretty much the combat wheel, how it's set up. As you read the rulebook or look at it a little bit more in depth, that'll make even more sense. But that's just a quick general overview of how your combat wheel would happen. You would both show at the same time, and then you would resolve it in the 1, 2, 3 order here. And again, tactics cards can either be used for battle, or they can use as just to boost your action. And you'll see that one did have a gem lock that you would have to pay to do it. Then your cards will discard there to the discard slot. So that's basically a battle. You'll select a battle you're in turn order from the faction holding the flare gun. Now, we said there could be multiple factions in a hex. First player is going to choose, or whoever's turn it is going to choose which hex they want to combat in. If there's multiple factions, they'll fight until one faction is removed, whether they lost or they retreated. After that faction is finished, the next person in turn order will pick any battle they want to choose, and they could be in the same battle. And if they do, they can battle you. Attacker is going to win tie. So you have to strategically think about which battle is most important to you, which one can you maybe deplete someone of tactics cards. Very, I mean, that combat in a sense feels kind of like Scythe, because you would battle, only difference, you can't have more than 2 factions in a hex. But other than that, I mean, the combat's different, but it does have a slight feel of that, just because of the way you're playing a card. You don't have to play a card. You're using different things.
You have a wheel. Yeah, I mean, there's some similarities.
Yeah. But then, like I said, you can only have 1 leader, except for certain factions may be able to have 2 leaders. Usually you can only have 1 leader in a battle. Like it says, except for Raizu, and then some factions will let you change that. Ties favor the faction who selected the battles. So it's important for you to, again, strategically pick the battles you want. After all battles have been resolved and there's only 1 faction in each hex, then we look at gaining income. You're going to gain income off of your board based on the buildings you've had removed. You do start with a slot, so right here I would automatically gain 2 energy and 1 gem, my choice. But then if I remove more foundries, I'm getting more energy. I could get tactics cards as income, or I could get gems. So gaining income, after you gain the income from your board, you'll also look to see how many hexes you control. And it is definitive. I can't say, except for like 1 faction ability, I can't say, well, I have control of 3, but I'm going to say I just have 2 so I can get this bonus. No, if you're 0 to 2, you would have this, you would get this bonus. If you're 3 to 5, you get this specific bonus. You can't downgrade your bonuses. Right here, this lets you redeploy just like in a retreat, so I could move factions from 1 hex to another to maybe redevelop myself for the next round. This will allow you to upgrade your special abilities. So like we said, you have a different ability for your board, you have a different ongoing abilities, and these cards will give you different abilities. They'll be in front of you, and you will have the opportunity to upgrade them if you can control 6 to 7. So sometimes it's just spreading yourself so you can gain extra control so that you can upgrade these, or you could take a gem. Some of these, as you can see, will require you to spend a gem to upgrade them, but usually they're quite more powerful actions that you have if you upgrade your ability cards. And if you control 8 or more, you get to do this action twice. So you could upgrade 2 cards if you had the resources to pay for it if you wanted. You could do 1 of each, or you could just take 2 gems. After that, we're at the end of the round. The last phase is a check to see if one faction controls all the remaining relics on the map. If they do, then they win the game. If not, the faction controlling the current round's relic collects it, and they're going to return all the units from that region to their base. So after you collect that relic, everybody's going to go back to the base. Everything that you had there as far as units go. So that is the round. These relics, why would they be good for you to take them? Not only they're going to go on your board at the top here. And this is where you can gain extra morale. You could gain research. You could gain energy. Different things you're going to gain by collecting these relics and putting them on the top of your board. Just because you get 5 of them doesn't mean you win. You would still have to win by the current rounds, all the current and next rounds relics, but it will help you get bonuses, which could help lead your fame track to go up. So why don't we talk about just the different factions real fast, and then we'll do our thoughts.
Okay.
Any other remaining thoughts we might have. We've told you some of them. So the Leyrien are kind of like swamp people, and their faction has morale tokens, and these morale tokens are going to make their strength stronger in those areas where they have the morale. It is also going to let them gain fame because of the morale tokens that they put. So when they place them, they have to place them in a certain order. They can't just do all of one row to be super strong. They have to gradually do both columns. But as they do that, that is going to make them stronger. They can place morale in swamps at certain points. They can place buildings without foundations at times, I believe. So they are pretty good about moving around the map because they can also move from swamp to swamp. Swamps are adjacent for them, so they have a lot of really good things that they can do. I've not gotten to play with them, but they've been in at least 2 or 3 of the games that we've played, and they just seem like super strong being able to move around. They're a moving faction. They can move better than probably anybody.
Yeah.
Oxataya, I did get to play with them. They are a very battle-driven faction. You are battling and trying to win battles, and so it's good to win battles because not only is that going to help you move up your fame track, but with them, it also helps you compete for the relics. So
yeah,
they're all about battling and building up. So when I say you want to move last, that's a faction you probably want to move last because you are trying to get in battles and win battles. You want to get in the battles that you can win, and sometimes those are the definitive relic battles that you want to win.
Yep.
The Circadians are a little bit different. Like I said, they don't have a home base. They do have a drop ship, which is on the board, which will allow them to move their forces around the board. And their whole thing is they need to upgrade these special ability cards. And so it's important for them to control regions so that they can upgrade these because they only need 4 points, and those four fame points are from upgrading these 4 cards. So as you move up these tracks, you'll get different bonuses, like you could get recruitment points, you could get energy, you could get gems, you could get tactics cards. The main things you're getting over here, you're still getting as you're moving up these tracks. AI, I really like the AI. Lance was not a huge fan of them. I just felt like I was playing like I was part Terminator, part Predator, part iRobot. I mean, I really liked them. They can spread on the board real quickly because they have they just deploy.
Yeah.
Like it's 1 recruitment point and you can just flood the board with them. Like you just shipping all these robots out on the board to control different regions and to try to max up to upgrade your cards, and ultimately they want to attack and just damage people. That's how they move up fame, is by damaging your opponent.
Wounds.
Not even winning. You want to wound them and send them back. And so their leaders and their ability cards are going to help them to do that. They do start with a bunch of robots off in a warehouse somewhere being built that you can't even have until you upgrade your cards. But once you upgrade them, you can start to get them back and get up to your 30 because you have more meeples than anybody. So I really like them. I thought they were really cool. Like I said, their backstory and everything. I mean, it just was so amazing. Just a bunch of ones and zeros that I didn't know how to read. I guess I could maybe Google that. I could like take a picture. Maybe Google can read it. I don't know. Jrayek is. It seems like a fun one. I haven't gotten to do that one, but it seems really fun because you want to engage in battles with them, and you want to hire. You have these 3 extra Raizu that are like soldiers that they will battle with. You can deploy them or they can battle, and then if you lose a battle, they go to your opponent. Well, your opponent can have a leader and the Raizu soldier with them in a battle, so if you go at them again and you win the battle, not only do you get your Raizu back, but you just gain 2 fame, because anytime you remove a leader or a Raizu that's controlled by somebody else, you're gaining fame. And guess how many of those you need? Just 5 fame points, and it's an immediate win, and every time you get one you get a bonus. So they don't have any that don't give them any bonuses. So they're a faction that you have to be very careful whenever you're battling. You have to know that you're going to win. And I tried to stop Eric from winning that. Nobody else was keeping him from getting a relic. I went to stop him, and he got 2 points right out the gate, but I was able to come back before he could win it with an incredible 2-battle victory. It was insane. The last one is Zcharo. I'm probably saying that way wrong. But like I said earlier, they're the researching faction. They're going to gain fame every time they move up any track. In addition, anytime they raise a building, basically winning a battle and removing a building, they're going to gain fame. And they're trying to get to 20. Thing is they don't win automatically. So if they get to 20, they're going to get a token removed from the board right here, which will allow them basically to have extra strength in the remaining battles of that round, and they get extra moves. So it was tough. I did get to 20, and I just got beat out by the Circadians in the gain income phase right before I would have won, because nobody had the relics. So I know other people have played them and thought they were kind of tougher. Maybe I just got lucky and had a synergy going, but I like them. I like playing a blue faction color. So and moving up tracks is very, kind of engine building, and so it worked well, and I wasn't afraid to go after buildings. So those are the 5 or 6 different factions that you can choose from in the game. All really cool, all very different, from the boards to the abilities to the leaders to the your cards. I mean, everything's pretty different. And it's just, to me, we're getting into final thoughts kind of now. It's amazing to me how well this is, being that Garphill usually doesn't go like full asymmetric. Mm-hmm. Like this is on the level of like leader games. This is what I would think whenever somebody said, here's an asymmetric game and it had this many different asymmetric parts. Yeah. I would think, oh, this is a company that's been doing this for a while. They've got this down. No, Zach Smith and S.J. McDonald or Sam McDonald did an amazing job on this game. And a lot of people have not really heard much about it yet. And it's shocking because of how well, and a huge part of it is this, but if you like area control and controlling a map and board, that is so fun too. Like, I like 4-player the best. Like I said, 3-player felt like I could do more. I mean, you're going to have less hexes to play off of, but I still felt like I wasn't constrained as much. Mm-hmm. 4, I still could move. Yeah. I did move very slowly because of the faction I had, but I could still move, and I wasn't constricted, but I didn't have free reign. 5 is going to be a little constrictive at times because you have 5 factions at play, 5 different people moving around the board, and so it can be a very tight game. I really liked the 5-player game because it was an intense, battle-driven. Everybody's trying to. Well, I'm trying to tell everybody to police these people because certain people are about to win the game, and you have to watch everybody and understand the factions as you go. And once you get it down, you're really watching every single person because they can move up their fame track pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But four was probably my favorite just because it wasn't too constrained. The game is 2 to 4 hours, and I can tell you that 5-player game is going to be about 4 hours. But the 4-player game can be quicker, especially after, if it's your second or third game, you can probably play in about 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours, as long as there's no AP going on. But it's funner than 3. I like 4, 5, and then 3. And I would imagine 2 would be my last choice just because, like I've told you before, 2-player, I really like co-op or a tactical game.
Kind of game.
Not even really a miniature skirmish. I feel like this would be kind of skirmish-like because it's a battle game with 2 people with a tight board, and we're doing this even though there's a full asymmetric element.
It's hard to do area control with 2 players, but yeah.
But I mean, you wouldn't have these 5 hexes and these 2, and you're very limited on what of the boards you're going to use.
Yeah.
I would prefer, though, 4, 5, and then maybe a 3-player game.
Yeah.
I like when we're doing a big, even Scythe. I like Scythe better with 4 or 5. 3, I'll play 3, but everybody needs to enlist. So.
Yeah. Well, my thoughts on the game, like I've told you already before, I really do enjoy this side of the board. This is my favorite aspect of the game. I love the price setting mechanic. I like the action selection piece to that. There's so much strategy built into that aspect of the game that makes it feel like 2 separate games that are interconnected because this influences what you're doing out here on the map. Yeah. I didn't, and again, this is me speaking as a person who's not fond of area control. I feel like the area control in this game is such a heavy piece, and this feels so great. I'm just not big on area control. So for me, I wish this was a separate game, and this in and of itself is so much fun. I do feel like the combat in this game is a little fiddly, a little not as elegant. We mentioned Scythe earlier before as a game that this might be compared to.
Well, people compare. I don't feel like it's Scythe.
I see the comparison in some ways. Scythe to me is a little more elegant, a little more streamlined, especially when it comes to combat. I feel like combat can be, there's a lot of iconography spinning this wheel around.
And then you have cards.
And you have cards on top of that,
abilities and things.
I would have preferred it to be a little more straightforward, but that's just me, somebody that's not super extreme heavy game. I'm more of a middleweight kind of gamer. So I can understand where people would really want that heavier experience.
But you would say this is heavier than Scythe.
Oh, absolutely.
This is much heavier than Scythe.
This is much heavier than Scythe. It is much more asymmetrical than Scythe is.
Oh, way more. Not even close.
Yeah, so I do see the similarities, but I would say that if you are somebody who really wants a very tactical, asymmetrical, heavy area control type of experience, you're going to get your money's worth out of this game. And it's going to be something that I think people that fall into that genre are really going to enjoy with this game. I don't see where that type of gamer wouldn't get their money's worth out of this kind of game.
And this is out of left field, but Root compared to this, do you feel like, I feel like that would be more of a comparison than Scythe, other than the battle wheel. Just because in Root, it can be very area control. There's so much asymmetry.
I feel like the differences between Root and Scythe and how this game can be compared to the two are the action selection, because Scythe has your own
It
little
has an
board
action
and an
selection.
action selection mechanic built into that ties into what's going on the map. Whereas with Root, it's very much my faction has its own little thing going on with
That's
it.
what this is. But that's that part of it, because your fame
I
is...
suppose,
your fame
yeah. I suppose, yeah.
But with your action selection and Scythe, you do that. Other people don't do it.
I will say
is gonna be
this game is
quite a bit different. It's
10
its own
times
game.
heavier when it comes to player interaction. This game, every little detail matters, and it's player interaction. I'm jacking with
bored.
people on this. They're jacking with me. This is going back and forth, and then it comes into area control. With area control is interaction to the max, and so it is way more interactive
time frame
than Scythe.
The time frame for this game is going to be longer than Scythe. You can play usually in 60 to 2 hours max. Usually, this is going to be 2 to 4 hours.
Yeah,
I mean, but like you said, you're not sitting there thinking, "Oh, when's my turn coming?" In 4 hours, I never thought, "Oh, when's my turn coming?" Because I'm watching what are other people focusing on, so that I can try to exploit that and make them. Because there's times where I'm gonna put this heavy cost for move, and they either have to save money or they're not gonna be able to move, which helps set me up for a victory. So there's there's so much that you're looking at other people do, and you're playing off of.
There's
you're
a lot
not
of
bored. You're not gonna sit there and think, "Oh, I wish I was playing this or that." No, you'll play this and you'll be usually engaged the whole time, and then next thing you know, 3-4 hours went by. And
there's a lot of sticking it to each other in this.
There's a lot of build up too. A lot of build up, because your economy is slow at the beginning. As you get buildings, as you get upgrades, you're gaining more resources, which will allow you to do more on the board. And you're trying to set up not only so you can win slow relics and possibly move up your fame, but ultimately, if you can't win alternatively, you can go full check relic phase.
And this is a very combat driven area control game.
I mean,
there's a ton of combat.
You're constantly combating. So in Scythe, you rarely have a combat. Root, you have combat as you go. But this, it's a whole phase of combat. And like I said, it's not over until every single hex only has one player color in it.
Yeah. So we shared a ton about this game. It is a game in which you are going to be experiencing quite a bit throughout the course of it. Like I said, lots of different mechanics, lots of different ideas tied into this game. And it's asymmetrical, so you have several different experiences playing from the different factions. So lots of replayability in this game, lots to like about it. I can understand why Jeremy likes it a lot.
Well, Scythe's my favorite. So even though I don't compare it to Scythe really, I mean, I love Scythe, so even though I don't compare it, I mean, if people are feeling that, and I really, really like this game. Like I said, it's going to be on my top. You're going to see my score in a minute. And this
Are we doing scores?
Yeah, we're scoring.
All right, well then you do
this
it.
Game excites
throw your score out
I'm throwing
there.
a score out?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 9.3.
Woo!
9.3. I really like this game. This is one of them games where I want to play every faction. I'm not a person that wants to just play green until I get it. I want to play each faction, and I've done several factions. And then I want to play them again and see how I can get it to work. And I like to play until I win each faction.
All right.
So I like to keep going around until I get each faction won. And then once I win them, I'm like, okay, I got that one down. Let me work on these 3 and figure it out. So yes, this is a game where I can see staying here for a long time and me continuing to play and getting different factions. And I think this pricing action is what's going to get other people to stay wanting to play it. I think if this wasn't here and it was just this area control game with asymmetry, people would say, well, why don't I just play Root? We're telling you, this is the cherry on top. This is the best part of the game, is this different feel of I'm picking the actions and I have to be very strategic on what I want to do with my token and when I want to spend my energy on other people's tokens so I can maximize and have the best round that I can have. This is so great. This is really great too, but this is probably the heart, the cherry on top. This is what I think everybody would bring all my friends to keep saying, oh, okay, I'll play that. It does have that really cool thing that I really like. It's not just area control.
For me, I'm probably about a 7.4 or so, and that's just, again, speaking as somebody who doesn't love area control. There are very few games of area control that I'm really gung-ho about. But as we've been saying, this over here is phenomenal.
Sets it apart.
Sets it apart, absolutely. It does make it unique from a lot of other area control games, and so because of that, that's why I would give it a very still favorable score of 7.4. I enjoy the mechanic of your bidding tokens can only be used once until you get them back using the one that lets you get them back, but then you can still only use them one more time. So you really have to be judicial about using those tokens and being smart about where you're putting them, because maybe the person doesn't pay you and you've completely blown it and you've wasted it. And so there's just a lot of things about that aspect of the game that I think is very compelling. And because of that, that's what keeps it a game that I would like to play again and try out. I'm not huge on asymmetrical games. I do like the idea of different tracks for each of the different factions. I think that's a unique concept, and how you go about going up those tracks is different for each one. So I think there's some novel ideas wrapped up with each of those. So coming from somebody who's not huge on area control or combat type games, I do like big aspects of this game, especially this. So if you're wondering if this is a game that could possibly work with somebody similar to like the type of person I've described myself as, they might still like it because of this aspect of it.
They're into heavier games.
Yeah, you do have to be into heavier games.
If they're not in heavier games, I don't know if it's going to be one
this would not be a love-to-hate kind of game. If you're not familiar with that, that's the other side of our channel where we're looking at games with casual and non-gamers. This would not be that.
I do want to say that from what I've heard, there will be a mini expansion that's going to be, I believe, coming out with this. I'm thinking it's going to be with the Circadians First Light expansion, but it's going to allow for new leaders into the game. So I think there will be a 4th leader for each faction to have. In addition, I know with the First Light, there's a new faction that's I think in that. So I'm hoping that in the future we may see maybe more factions that come to this game and can be played. I don't know that for a fact, just going off some cards I'd seen for First Light and with that new expansion. So hopefully, but who knows? Like I said, we'll see. So that's Circadians Chaos Order by Garphill Games, Zachary Smith, and S.J. McDonald.
Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about this particular game. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to be notified of all of our new great content.
All right, I'm Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.